Well, hello everybody. It's Terry Walsh. It is Wednesday, September 30th. I'm glad to see you today. It's been a beautiful fall week. This is exactly the kind of temperature I like. This is a very nice week. The weather's been wonderful. As you've seen on the campuses, if you're either on Chesterfield or in Sunset Hills, you know the campuses are looking wonderful with the landscaping going around all the new buildings, all the work that's happening. In the Chesterfield campus, for example, in the new assisted living and memory care building, they just had the final two inspections over the last 2 days, Monday and Tuesday. They did it very well in the brand new building that they're opening, and they should be able to begin moving residents into the assisted living building and memory care unit there within the next several days. I think it's very exciting there that we have brought that whole project as far as assisted living and memory care in Chesterfield all the way around to completion. Now, the only thing that's left now on both campuses are the care centers, both at Sunset Hills and in Chesterfield. We're learning, though, that those final inspections that are going to be necessary for each of those care centers might be a little bit delayed because the state inspectors, who have to give the final blessing that everything is safe and secure and all of the systems are properly functioning, have been delayed a little bit because of COVID-19. And during the worst part of COVID a few months ago, they got really behind in their work, as you might imagine. And so there are some delays in inspecting all of the areas around the state that they have to inspect. So we are pushing to try to make sure that we stay on our schedule for a November opening in Chesterfield and a December opening in Sunset Hills. We're not sure we're going to be able to stay on that timeline because we are subject to the schedules of those inspectors, but that's what we're trying to do. We're pushing for that, and we're continuing to work. On a similar note, we continue to work on our request for the additional 26 bed licenses for the new care center in Sunset Hills. That hearing will be at the state capitol on November 9th. And so we will know at that point whether we're approved to go ahead and open all 144 beds in the care center here at Sunset Hills, or whether we have to piecemeal those in over a couple of years' time. I think the wind is blowing in our favor as far as that goes, and so I think we're going to be in good shape, at which point we will be able to help relieve a lot of the stress in the entire community for seniors who require rehab after a procedure in the hospital, because a lot of the skilled nursing facilities all around us included right now, are a little bit hampered because of the isolation requirements for COVID-19, and we're unable to use the second bed in our semi-private rooms because the first person coming out of the hospital has to be quarantined and isolated for 14 days. So with our new private rooms in our care center, we will have solved that problem. And so by getting all 26 of the additional beds licensed immediately instead of piecemealing as we had originally planned, we'll hopefully be able to relieve some of the stress on the entire community for seniors leaving St. Anthony's or Mercy South or some of the other hospitals who require rehab. So we're keeping our fingers crossed. Pray with us that all that happens, that we get those 26 beds all at once as we're requesting. We've gotten a lot of support from the community and our elected officials across the state and in our area here. And I think we're going to probably succeed in that, but we won't know that until that actual hearing happens on November 9th. Some of you, and I know I did, probably watched a television program last night that included a debate of our two presidential candidates. It was interesting, to say the least, and that's the only word I'm going to use. But one of the things I would like to remind everybody of is, politics is a volatile subject for some people, well, depending on which side you're on, and in some cases, both sides. So I just want to caution everybody from engaging in too much political discussion, so to the point where it causes arguments and disagreement that causes people to lose their tempers a little bit, maybe. And we want to keep that calm around the campus. So I would ask that we do our best to temper our discussions on the politics, We all have our opinions. I have my opinions. You have your opinions. Everybody has opinions, one side or the other. But we don't need to get into arguments about it with anybody. So I just ask that everybody just remain calm and walk away if a discussion gets a little bit out of hand with anybody. I don't anticipate that happening. But I just want to go on record saying that we have, we all understand that everybody's opinions matter, but we don't need to get into arguments with people about it. So I just want to ask that everybody remain civil during this next month or so as we move through the election process. You also know that we won't be able to vote on campus at Sunset Hills at Friendship Village because there aren't enough workers for the polls for the county election department to have all of the election locations, the polling places that they've had in the past. And so Sunset Hills campus was one of the polling places that they decided to cut out this year, not because they didn't want to come on the campus, and actually we invited them to come on the campus to make it easier for our residents to vote, but because the county doesn't have enough people to man all of the polling places, and so they decided to consolidate into fewer locations, and so that's what we got cut out of the process in that case. So we will be providing some limited amounts of transportation on election day for you to go vote. We will do everything we can to help you remain socially distant from everybody and masked up and protected and all those sorts of things, but there is no possible way we can drive 450 people to the polls that day, so you're going to have to, if you can, make it on your own, do so. If you can't make it on your own and you don't want to ride on transportation or go with someone else, then now's the time to request your ballots through the mail, or find a ride with a family member or a friend or drive yourself. But we won't be able to vote on the campus in the ballroom as we have in the past. So I hope you prepare yourself for that. But I do encourage everybody to get out and vote because this is an important election, as we all know. Overall, we don't have any financial reports yet for the month of September. This is the last day of September, so it'll be about 10 days or so before we get any financial results for the month of September. And when we get those results, we will report those to you. As I started off in our conversation, our construction project is going very well. We have received the keys at Sunset Hills to the new care center, but what has to happen now is all of the punch list items. So Jill and the inspection team walks through the building and they identify some little things here and there that need to be tightened up or repainted or touched up in some way. And then we begin moving all of the furniture and fixtures into the building. And in a skilled nursing facility, that's a lot of stuff. So all of the room furniture, the beds, the reclining chairs, and all of those things have to be moved into the building and set up. We've got to get all of the electronics installed in the building, and then all of the medical equipment and all of those things. So it's going to take a while to get all of that set up in the care center. We will be on our schedule. Now, again, we're subject to the inspection schedule from the state on when we'll actually begin moving residents in there, but we still anticipate that we're going to be ready on our normal timeline with Chesterfield ready to go and fully ready in November, and Sunset Hills fully ready to begin moving residents in toward the beginning of December. We will set up some tours for residents, current residents, to go through and see what it looks like before we move anybody in because of the visitor restrictions that we're still under. Once residents get into those buildings and move in, then we won't be able to have any visitors or tours through the building. So we'll do that before all that happens, and we will certainly advertise that because I know everybody's excited to see what the inside of those buildings look like. They're really, really nice, and you'll be excited to see those. So we will have tours. Just stay tuned for the schedule on when those will be, and we'll begin moving people through there. But at Sunset Hills, it won't be till the latter part of November, so it's not a rush. We still have about a month and a half or more before we begin taking tours through the building because Jill wants to get some things set up in there and all of the stuff installed as much as we can. And so it's going to be probably toward the end of November, around Thanksgiving or so before we allow tours through the new care center at Sunset Hills. We are discussing, and I talked with Jim Hunzy yesterday, we are discussing the potential for having an ice cream parlor here on campus. More to follow on that. We've had a lot of requests, particularly since the video that we put out on television last week showed an ice cream parlor on the Chesterfield campus, which is really nice. A lot of our residents have asked for something similar to that, so we're beginning to work on some ideas for that. So don't despair. We still do the ice cream truck deliveries on Thursday afternoons to all of the apartments, but we are working on an idea to have an ice cream parlor on the Sunset Hills campus that you'll be able to go to during the day. I will tell you, though, it's not going to be free ice cream. It will be a charge, just as there is in Chesterfield. And, we'll figure out how you do that as time goes on. But we are working on an idea to have an ice cream parlor so that you'll be able to access some ice cream for those of you that need that on a regular basis, where you'll be able to get that here on the campus as well. I hope all of you are doing well. We're doing well on our COVID-19 still. At this point, we don't have any residents with COVID-19 that we're aware of. Haven't had any for quite some time on either campus. It's been about 3 months at all since the last person on either campus has had COVID-19 in terms of residents having it. We have 3 employees out across the entire company. We have 3 employees out right now. 2 are positive for COVID. The other one we're still waiting for a test result on. And so we'll know whether they're clear or not. It's going to be a few days before they can come back to work, of course. We pray for their health and that they'll be fine when it's all over and they can come back to work. But overall, as far as residents go, we don't have anybody on either campus at any level of care that are currently positive with COVID-19, knock on wood, and we hope to keep it that way. But I want to thank all of you for your continued diligence in wearing your masks. I know that you're attempting to do social distancing, but I know on both campuses we don't hit that mark all the time, and we get a little close to each other. We got to do better at that. And then the contact, we don't want to make contact with other people, either staff or with residents. Every once in a while, a resident will come up to me and want to shake my hand, and while I would love to do that, I always try to draw back and make sure that we don't do that because that's one of our protocols. And then I know you're getting your temperatures taken regularly or you're monitoring them yourselves. And then, of course, our staff, whenever they come into work every day, gets their temperature taken at the front desk and answer their potential exposure questions to make sure that they don't have a risk that they're bringing COVID-19 into the campus as well. So overall, we're doing well with that. I know that we're beginning to do some the cookouts when the weather's warm enough and nice enough for the cookouts. I appreciate everybody's enthusiasm for that. I know sometimes we sell out for the cookouts. We can't do everybody all at once because of the social distancing, but it is popular. But we're not getting as many people as I thought we would in some of the venues. I know that Jim Hunzy and his staff are opening up dining rooms for up to 25 people here and there, but very few people are actually taking them up on the offer. In fact, the other night, I know he had the dining room open up in the crossing for 25 people and only 9 people came. And so I appreciate that everybody enjoys getting your meals in your apartments, and the food's been really good, and I hear that all the time from everybody, and I agree that the food is really good, and the delivery service is wonderful. But I would really like everybody to begin trying to tiptoe out of your cocoons a little bit in your apartments and socialize. That's very important as we move through COVID. It's been 6 months now, and as we move through COVID, it's important to make sure that we still have human-to-human contact. Not physical contact with COVID, but interaction and talking and seeing people. And I know a lot of residents are staying kind of sequestered in their apartments and not wanting to come out and be exposed, and I appreciate that, but overall, we don't have any residents right now that have COVID, so it's fairly safe to come out and maybe have dinner in the dining room in our small numbers that we're able to do. So I encourage you to do that, just to get out and breathe some air and see some other people and enjoy that a little bit more. We all remember the day, it was 6 months ago, when we used to all gather in the dining rooms for dinner, and I would wander through the dining rooms and let everybody pick on me. And of course, we haven't done that now for 6 months, but those are the good old days. I know the food is really good now and the way it's being delivered to you, but I would really be excited if you would get out a little bit more in some of these opportunities, even in small groups, to have dinner with some other people and socialize. I think that's a very important part of our COVID response, is to maintain as much normalcy as we can. So I look forward to seeing as many as we can probably out and about. Everybody's doing great. I see visitors here and there. I see the orange dots and the green dots on visitors when they come to visit. I'm happy to see that. I'm glad that your families feel comfortable coming to visit you. I know we still have some tours. Our sales department is having an increasing number of prospective residents touring the facility, and that's great because we've got some vacancies we need to fill at every level in all of our apartment sizes, almost all the way up. So starting with our smallest, least expensive apartments all the way up to the biggest apartments, we've got something for everybody. And so I encourage you to encourage your friends and maybe relatives who haven't decided whether to move into a senior living community such as this, or people from your church, or people who are tired of being cooped up in their own homes and afraid of their own shadows because of COVID-19. Bring them over, because nobody here is afraid of their own shadows, and we're doing well and keeping everybody safe, and we've got a whole team effort for that, and they don't have to fend for themselves in their own homes by themselves and trying to go to the grocery store and risking all that exposure when we can do that for them. So I encourage you to talk to them, bring them by, and invite them to meet with our sales teams. Take a tour and look around. The tours are free, doesn't cost anything, and I think they might be impressed, and particularly now that the landscaping's done and the buildings are completed on the outside, the campus looks fantastic all the way around. And so it's a great time now in the fall to show it off a little bit to some folks. And so I invite you to do that. Just be careful, make sure everybody follows the rules. You know the rules better than anybody in the United States. You're doing a great job of it. Probably one of the single most successful senior living communities in the country in terms of our COVID fight. And so you know the rules. Just ask any of your visitors to follow those rules as well, and I think we'll be okay. I hope this has been helpful for you. I didn't have a lot of data to share with you today because we don't have our financial numbers all finished yet for the month of September, but we will in a couple of weeks. And so I'll see you around. I'm getting around and walking around and seeing those of you that are out in the open, but a lot of you aren't. And so I encourage you to do that and enjoy each other's company a little bit more, because that's part of the life here at Friendship Village. And I encourage you to do that. Just remain safe, wear your mask, your social distancing of 6 feet or more. Don't make contact with anybody, and continue to wash your hands or use hand sanitizer, and we'll all be fine, just as we've been for the last at least 3 months now on our campuses. So good to see all of you. Have a great afternoon, and I'll see you around the campus. Bye now.